Hello and welcome to Business L&K, Lincoln's platform for exploring the people, places, and programs that make our city unique. I'm Kaylie Hogan-Schnittker from the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development, and I'm so excited today to be joined by Christina Oldfather and Mike Smith of Rabble Mill today in the AOI studio. How are you both doing?
Great. How are you?
Not bad.
We're wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Yes, well, great. I would love to hear more about your programs at Rabble Mill and kind of the reason we're here today. So can you tell us a little bit about Rabble Mill?
Well, I will actually leave that one to Mike.
Yes, of course. So Rabble Mill is the nonprofit organization that we all work for. And so originally there was the Bay and here in Nebraska in 2010. So these were two different nonprofits started by myself and then Andy Norman. And then in 2018, we merged here in Nebraska and the Bay into one organization, to one 501c3 called Rabble Mill. And so we kind of look at it like we are the rabble and the mill is this product that we're churning out, all these things and all the stuff that we're creating. And so that's kind of where the name came from. And we knew that Bay Lincoln wasn't going to be our only stop, which it's not. We're opening up Bay Omaha. And so we didn't want to just kind of have like a Lincoln focused thing. And so Rabble Mill is the company. The Bay is the place in Lincoln where we work. We're opening up another Bay in Omaha. And we have a ton of programs for youth of all ages inside of our spaces. And so Rabble Mill is the company and the Bay is the place.
Awesome. So recently you launched a focus program with the Lincoln Public Schools called Bay High. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I'll start and I'll let you do cleanup. So Bay High is a LPS focus program. So we have juniors and seniors. We have about 75 between the two classes. And it's a business marketing infotech curriculum. So the students that we have there are really interested in the creative space and like marketing and drawing and art and content creation. So we bring them into our space. We also partner really heavily with a lot of businesses. So these students are not only getting that curriculum, but they're getting really deep experiences with local companies. So for example, like Arch Rival is doing mentoring with our seniors. So we've got a handful of them that are working one-on-one with a mentor at Arch Rival, which as a senior in high school, like how amazing would that be to get that experience and that network and knowledge. We also have them working on specific projects. So like for Swanson Russell, for instance, the students are actually creating like a social post that's for one of their clients that they'll get to actually pitch to the client. And then hopefully in the end, it actually ends up in the real world. And then they've got something super cool for their portfolio. So it's kind of like this all around, you know, they're doing the curriculum, they're doing the high school thing, but we're really bringing a lot to the table that they get in and around that school day. Also around the school day, we have clubs that are happening where they can get certifications and skills. So like they can get their food handler's permit and get barista certified. So they can take like that skill with them anywhere. And that's a job that a lot of creatives, tend to go for. So.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think the who goes to Bay High is what's been so fun. We have everything from, there's this girl at Lincoln East who's got a 4.3 GPA, and she's like on that HERDAT track. She wants to be a sports podcaster and had Lincoln East baseball team in there doing her podcast on a snow day, and they all still showed up. And so you have like these high achiever, high kids who know the path that they're on. And then you have just the traditional creative kid who's like, I don't know if I'm going to college. I don't know what's right for me. I don't know where I'm headed, but I know that I have these creative skills and I want to exercise those. And so I think we get a lot of the like entrepreneur kids. One of the teachers was like, Bay High's for the hustlers and the scrappers. You know, we do this art and thrift on Friday nights. So the kids are now like screen printing their own shirts and learning how to sell them at the pop-up thrift event that we do once a month so they can make money. And so there's just this really cool sort of ecosystem that's being created down there where kids can create it, they can make it, they can sell it, they can share it, they can use our computers and our technology, and they just have ultimate access to stuff. And so I think for a lot of we were both from small towns, you know, we're tiny town kids, no stoplight. And so like seeing every business in town wasn't hard. You just drove up and down Main Street. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a casual Friday night. But for our kids in Lincoln, I think one of the coolest things, and this is what Christina's been working so hard on, is getting our kids to all of these incredible businesses in town. And so we have a track the kids are going on called the Future Ready track. So this is like your adult life fanny pack starter kit. This is like opened up a bank account, got my driver's license, registered to vote, visited 10 companies, visited every college in town, had a mentor. Like, this is a really deep dive into stuff that if you go to a 2,000 kid high school, you don't get to go visit 10 companies. You don't get to go walk around Arch Rival for a day. You don't get to go see Company Cam and talk to their coders and their marketing team. And so what's really cool about what we're doing with Bay High kids is these kids get direct access to these businesses, where at your large comprehensive high school, it's too hard to take a field trip with 2,000 kids. And so for us, we toss them in the vans. They get to go meet a bunch of people. And so it's been great. It's been cool. The kids at one point had kind of started complaining where they were like tired of the field trips. Like, they'd been out so much and gone so much that they were wanting to do things at Bay. And so it was cool. You don't hear, you rarely hear that, right? Yeah. And so we're running into good problems at Bay, which is things like that.
That's awesome. Well, you launched Bay High then in 2022, and 2023 has also brought a new adventure for Rabble Mill. Can you tell us what that is and a little bit more about the program?
Yeah, so we have just very recently, in the last 3 weeks, piloted a program called Gap Year. So it's an 8-month program targeted at 18 to 22-year-olds, where they develop a plan, and then we help them execute on that plan. So they start out, figure out what that 3 to 5 year plan looks like. Then we help them through a certification phase. Then they work on a capstone with some mentors. And then they get a paid internship, and then they graduate. And along the way, that Future Ready track that Mike talked about is kind of the core of that program, where those students also fill out all of those buckets where they get all of those same experiences, they get that network, they really get to choose what that path looks like and how they have the plan to actually make it work. So really the end result for really both Bay High and Gap Year, we want all of the kids to either know that they want to go to college because the thing they want to do requires that college degree. They're just ready to start a career, so they know what that looks like and they know where they can get that, or they want to start a business. They want to get into entrepreneurship. They want to, start something creative, start a side hustle, whatever that is. And then we give them the tools to help them do that. So you can speak a little bit to those first 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I think the thing that's fun about Gap Year is how this is so relevant for so many kids right now. So many kids don't want to take the traditional path that their grandma and grandpa and mom and dad took, and the perfect grades, perfect college, perfect job, perfect life, and then a pandemic, and everybody was like, I want to quit. And it was like, okay, so that's not it anymore. And so for us, it's been awesome because we started a pilot program and we were like, we're going to keep it to 15, and kids keep adding. After week 1, kids were like, hey, can my friends join? And can my friends join? And so I think there's this pivot in our society today, especially at the Gen Z young level, where they're actually buying into I don't think I need to go to college because I can get Adobe certified in 2 weeks. I can get a masterclass certification that can go on my LinkedIn in some project management thing that actually is relevant to my job versus waiting 4 years and paying all this money to do this thing. And so that's where Gap Year kind of fits this perfect thing. Is there are so many kids who are like, I'm ready to get started now. We have high school kids who can out-code their professors. We have high school kids who can out-photograph their college photography professor. They just might not know the language yet. And so there's an interesting thing kind of brewing, and I think Gap Year is a perfect opportunity for kids to figure out what life after high school is going to look like. A lot of us would have been better off taking 1 year to figure out who we were, what we cared about, what direction we wanted to go versus going to college and figuring it out that way, because that's expensive. Switching your major has a cost. Dropping out and going back in has a cost. Paying back your loans over time has a cost. And so sometimes that 1 year can just be a really critical time in a young person's life. Whether you graduated high school but didn't get into college, maybe COVID got you and you didn't graduate from high school yet because life happened and it was real. And so I think we're just seeing that in our city specifically, there are a lot of kids who are right there and right in that space. And so I'm gonna go on my rant right now, and I realize that this could get edited out, and that's totally fine. But here is why I'm so passionate, and why I think we're so passionate about this is we always talk about the brain drain, and there's this big conversation about the best and the brightest are leaving and our most talented are going away, and we don't actually believe that. We think that it's just really the rich white kids who are leaving because they can. They already went to the university, they already went to the best high schools in town, and now they're like, I want to move to Austin, I want to move to Chicago, and everyone's like, oh God, they're leaving, and it's like, of course they're leaving. Why would they stick around for De Leon's for 5 more years? They're not going to do it. They did the thing, and now they're going to move, and they're going to go have kids, and then they're going to want their parents to watch those kids, so they're going to move back in their 30s, and they're going to get free childcare at home, which is what 1 trillion people in Lincoln, well, there's only a couple thousand of us, but it's what anyone in their 30s and 40s in Lincoln, there's a lot of them that was their exact trajectory. They left, had kids, came back. And so what you're coming back to is not that diverse. It's not that different than what you left. And the problem is we're not investing in our local creatives. There are so many local kids who are super talented, super creative. They're the answer to our diversity issues that most of our companies have. We're just not focused on them. We're too busy focused on recruiting diverse talent into our town. Well, if I was a diverse person that wasn't a white dude named Mike Smith with blue eyes, right, I would go to a place, I'd interview for my job, and then I'd go to a coffee shop and I'd look for people like me. I'd go to a bar and I'd look for people like me. And if I didn't see anybody who looked like me, even as normal or weird as I look, I wouldn't take that job. I wouldn't move to that town. And I think that's what's happening is we're recruiting all these people. We're trying to get them to come to these interviews, and then they're going around our town and they're not seeing what they're looking for. And that's because we as a community haven't focused on that specific kid yet. And so I think we're really hyper focused on that young creative who's going to stay. They're going to stay in Lincoln because their family's here. They're not leaving. Like, this is their best opportunity. And so that's really who we're trying to cultivate. And that's really who I think Gap Year and Bay High are really trying to find those kids.
Absolutely. Well, you've kind of painted a picture of the importance of these programs. Christina, do you have anything else you'd like to add about why these are important to Nebraska's workforce?
Yeah, I think, the only other thing I would add is as we have been building this and piloting it and getting our kids in front of all these businesses, like, we're obviously solving a problem for the youth and the kids that they get this opportunity to figure things out and really develop that path. But the things we've also been hearing from our companies that we're working with is that, truly they're wanting, as Mike said, looking to fix the diversity problem. They're looking for this type of talent, even just from a broader perspective, getting more diversity into the industry in general. Like, even if these kids don't necessarily end up working for that specific company that's working with us, they're really interested in how to make that happen. So I really see it that we're solving a problem from both the business perspective, community perspective, and then obviously for the kids that we're working with.
Sounds like everyone's going to benefit from these programs.
Absolutely.
Well, how can employers get in touch and work with you?
So they can reach out to us directly, shoot us an email. I'm just Christina@rabblemill.org. We're piloting Gap Year, so there's actually not a web presence. The word of mouth has gotten us busy enough, I think, as it is right now. But we're definitely looking to have those conversations as we get through our pilot and wanting to continue to scale it for next year.
Awesome. Well, I would tell people to go to the Gap Year website, but it sounds like we're still on the
They
waiting.
can go to rabblemill.org and find us.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share today with those who are tuning in?
If you're ever looking for a place to make a financial contribution, Rabble Mill will always take your donations. I wouldn't be doing my job as executive director if I didn't say that. We're a nonprofit and we can always use the help. So rabblemill.org.
Well, thank you both so much for coming in and telling me a little bit about your programs. I'm really excited to see what happens after the Gap Year pilot and after your first year of Bay High.
Thanks so much for having us.